Hello everyone, this is Crypto BitLaw, here with another blockchain legal brief, and today we're going to discuss how SEC Chair Gary Gensler recently took aim at crypto exchanges in recent comments that he gave to Bloomberg. But before we dive in, please, if you enjoy this content, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. We'd appreciate that. And with that said, let's jump right on in. Alright, so as we can see here, Decrypt reports that crypto exchanges are trading against their customers, says SEC Chair Gensler. He also took aim at the fact that the largest stablecoins all have ties to crypto exchanges. They say, Securities and Exchange Commission Chair Gary Gensler leveled sharp criticism at cryptocurrency exchanges and stablecoins during an interview on Tuesday. Gensler took issue with the fact that many of the largest cryptocurrency exchanges run custody, market making, and trading services without keeping them separate the way that traditional exchanges are required to. Quote, Crypto's got a lot of those challenges of platforms trading ahead of their customers, Gensler told Bloomberg. In fact, they're trading against their customers, often because they're market making against their customers. Hours after the interview, Coinbase was fighting to dispel fears that new risk factor language in its quarterly report with the SEC meant customers' assets could be subject to bankruptcy proceedings. Which, on a side note, if you actually read the language of their terms and conditions in those filings, yes, if you are subject to a bankruptcy proceeding, I think it's pretty clear the language is express, and you hold crypto in an exchange, a traditional exchange, namely Coinbase in this instance, then, Coinbase is going to freeze those assets if they get an order from the court, and then those funds will be subject to the bankruptcy proceeding. So, buyer beware, not your keys, not your coins, right? Continuing on, the filing said in part, crypto assets we hold in custody on behalf of our customers could be subject to bankruptcy proceedings. There it is in black and white. Could be subject to bankruptcy proceedings. Yeah, they are. Quote, we believe our prime and custody customers have strong legal protections in their terms of service that protect their assets, even in black swan events like this, Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong said in a Twitter thread on Tuesday. See, but this is a straw man argument. He's building something completely different and making that out to be the issue. The issue is whether or not customers would have access and protection over their coins held by Coinbase in the event of a bankruptcy proceeding. He's talking about, Brian Armstrong in this instance, black swan events like this mass market liquidation. A bankruptcy proceeding isn't a black swan event. Those ideas aren't fungible. They're not even the same thing. They're not even the same sport, right? So, continuing on, Coinbase's prime and custody services cater to institutional clients. He added that the company would take steps to offer the same protections to retail customers. Gensler also took aim at stablecoins, pointing out that the three largest are all controlled by or have ties to crypto exchanges. Tether, USDT, the largest stablecoin with an $83 billion market cap, has ties to Bitfinex, according to leaked documents. USD Coin, USDC, which has a $49 billion market cap, is controlled by the Center Consortium, which includes publicly traded Coinbase, and it should be no surprise that Binance USD, or BUSD, which has a market cap of $17 billion, is associated with Binance. Quote, I don't think that's a coincidence, Gensler said during the interview. Each one of the three big ones were founded by trading platforms to facilitate trading on those platforms and potentially avoid AML KYC. Altogether, the three stablecoins on Wednesday still accounted for roughly 10% of the $1.4 trillion global crypto market cap. Alright, so now let's talk about some of the SEC crypto exchange related issues. First and foremost, there's the issue of KYC and AML that Mr. Gensler brought up. And I think that this is another red herring style argument. Mr. Gensler is alleging that these exchanges, for example, Binance with the Binance US dollar, or Gemini with the Gemini dollar, or Coinbase with Circle, are creating these crypto exchange related stable coins in an effort to circumvent KYC AML regulations. And I don't believe that that's the case. And here's why. Most of you will know that if and when you sign up to one of these exchanges, one of the prerequisites for actually being able to use these centralized exchanges, any of the ones that we've named, like Coinbase, Gemini, Binance, trying to think of another big one, FTX, any of those exchanges, if you use them in the United States, they have very extensive KYC AML processes. You have to send them copies of your driver's license, your social security. You have to send them, in some cases, utility bills in order to verify where you live. That's not the case for places like KuCoin, but I mean, last I checked, KuCoin doesn't have a stable coin that rises to this similar level of market cap of these other exchange-related stable coins. So the fact that he's saying that these crypto exchanges are trying to create their own stable coins in order to circumvent KYC AML, I think is a no-go. Because, I mean, if you're operating on their platforms, it's a prerequisite to even play on their platforms that you have to be KYC AML'd in order to even get on there. And so if you're trading on those platforms, they know who you are. And so I think that that's just kind of a misnomer. So next up, there's the issue of the spot ETF, right? And I think that this is one of the buried leads that he didn't really discuss here, but if you kind of read between the lines, I think that this is, one of the unspoken talking points. One of the reasons why I still believe that a spot ETF hasn't been approved, it's for some of the reasons that were kind of mentioned in here without actually linking them to them directly. Issues about the fact that there is still market manipulation that happens on behalf of the market makers that are working in conjunction with the exchanges in order to front run trades on their customers. And so when you have an industry that's so new and so nascent that it's operated kind of like the Wild West for the past few years without any sort of major regulation, and in some instances the market caps aren't really big enough to prevent this level of manipulation where you could just have a whale come in and then dump $1 billion, which a lot of hedge funds have access to, and then start making waves in the market that you can actually then ride the waves of and take advantage of that level of manipulation. I think that that's one of the reasons why Gensler doesn't want traditional equity markets to have exposure to cryptos in the form of a Bitcoin spot ETF, where that spot ETF would be forced to reconcile and settle in actual spot Bitcoin and then purchase that from the market. And so you could cause a long or a short squeeze in the market and force all of this buying or selling pressure up or down, and then have that make waves and ripples into the equity market by way of this spot ETF. And then that could cause all sorts of panic and haywire style activity that could have an effect on traditional investment funds, retirement funds, things like that. Traditional investment instruments that, I guess boomers, as we refer to them, are otherwise used to. And finally, there's the issue of what has been referred to as the crypto crime cartel, FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried, Tether, and Solana. I guess more importantly, Tether. I know that we've covered in the past interesting articles and exposés that were written about the connections and the ties between FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried, Alameda Research, and Tether, and how those different entities kind of work in conjunction, almost analogous to a cartel, in order to do things like we were talking about earlier, and that Gensler alluded to here. Things like front-running trades, using market makers, and then order book data in order to front-run exchange customers. And then doing that in conjunction with a stable coin like Tether, which has ties to Bitfinex that we know, it's not 100% backed one for one by dollar or dollar equivalents. There's all this junk grade, or so it's been called, commercial paper. And so there's been ties linked between Tether and Bitfinex and the printing of Tether, and then SBF, Sam Bankman-Fried, utilizing Tether on FTX in order to purchase up all of this Bitcoin pretty much for nothing when he gets access to this Tether that's been printed up out of nowhere with nothing backing it. And it's just a really interesting combination and symbiosis between all of these different parties and how they operate in order to manipulate these markets and front run the markets and front run these trades. And if you want to learn more about this, there's going to be an article that's posted in the description below that does a deeper dive into that issue of the crypto crime cartel between FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried, Tether, and Solana. So there you have it. I think that this was an interesting story. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please, if you did, hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. We'd appreciate that. And with that said, thanks again for watching, and we'll see you all in the next video.